All right. Well, live from our respective homes. He's Tony. I'm the Law. How you doing, Tone?
I am doing fantastic. How about you? All snug and safe in Castle Law over there, or whatever you call your abode.
Snug and safe down here in the sports cave, enjoying the time with the family. Uh, Hoping that everybody else is staying safe. We took some time off here for a while. We did two shows. We recorded a lot more. I need to let everybody that's listening, all three of you, know we recorded so much more material than got released. But yeah, time makes fools of us all. Tony bought a house. I made another person, so things got complicated there for a bit.
Yeah, but now I think now that we've got our remote recording location set up, something we could probably do this far more frequently, put out much more content, whether we can see each other in person or not, whether or not the world ends. As long as we have electricity, we could probably still start churning out content at a much faster rate, I would think.
Here's hoping. Well, first things first, this is Scotch and Sports. So, Tony, what are you drinking?
Today is Johnny Walker Black Day. That's what I'm doing. How
What
about
a
you?
coincidence. I also am drinking Johnny Walker Black. If anybody from Johnny Walker is listening and wants to sponsor us, why not? You could spend your money on worse things.
Or even if you're another whiskey or scotch and you don't want us to drink Johnny Walker Black anymore and you'd like to sponsor us, we're on board for that too.
Yeah, pretty much. We'll sell out for anyone. Uh, so to you, my friend, salut.
Yep, salute. Enjoy it.
All right. Okay, so let's
Ah,
get started. We are heading into the weekend of the Showcase of the Immortals. It's the only sports entertainment that is on TV at any point in the near future. It's WrestleMania time. We're both big wrestling fans. We haven't had a chance to talk about it much on the show yet. So I guess the first question we need to ask is, should this be happening?
yeah, in light of everything going on with coronavirus and every major sport is shut down. Uh, every major everything is shut down. Vince McMahon, in his immortal wisdom, has decided that he will continue on with WrestleMania. They're going to do it live from the WWE Performance Center. Basically, run it the way that they've been running their SmackDown, NXT, and Raw shows the past couple of weeks and just have no audience. I'm not really sure how I feel about that. It seems like it could be a colossal train wreck, but I really can't see how it could be, well, better than having a live audience there. Let's put it that way.
Yeah, there's so much of this to unpack. The first thing is there's a part of it to me that feels a little socially irresponsible, and I gotta put that out. It just puts a bad taste in my mouth that everything else is canceled. I'm sure that they are taking all logical precautions to make sure that these athletes are healthy. Um, it's just weird to me that in a world where the rest of us are social distancing, there's going to be, an 8-woman tag team match for a championship going on here. I hope that they are being responsible and that everybody's healthy. It just really feels weird to me.
Some of the developing news as we've gotten closer to the event here has really sent conflicting messages, if you think about it, because you would like to think, like you said, that they're taking every necessary precaution. Look, let's not to get too political about it, but WWE superstars, rich, famous, probably very, very easy access to testing to figure out whether or not they have this disease.
Right.
So they know whether or not they're getting in the ring with somebody who's ill or healthy. That being said, if there is that certainty, if they're sure that none of their wrestlers are going to contract this disease or have contracted this disease, then why does somebody like Roman Reigns have to get off the show for fear of getting sick?
Mm-hmm.
So what that just indicates to me that they're not positive that they're keeping their superstars out of harm's way. Um, And you could make the argument, well, they don't want him to go to a public airport, or they don't want him to go out in public. Vince McMahon could send him an airplane if he wanted to.
Mm-hmm.
So if it's about you don't want him exposed, you could very easily get him to the arena without putting him in contact with anybody. The only danger would be are you just not sure that the wrestlers you're putting him in there with, in this case it was supposed to be Goldberg, are you sure that Goldberg's healthy? So it sends mixed messages. It seems to me irresponsible.
On one hand, yeah, I feel like I'm going to be part and parcel to something that's irresponsible here. On the other hand, I am still going to watch it. I am going to be part and parcel to it, so getting away from the idea of the social responsibility, I think you also have to take into account another factor in the should they or shouldn't they. This event, of professional wrestling relies more on the crowd, and the crowd honestly plays more of a part in this than in almost any competitive sport.
That's true. That's very true. And wrestling has very specific types of audiences now. I mean, they're more involved in the actual show than they ever have been in the past.
Mm-hmm.
With certain chants that actually, factor into the actions of the wrestlers in the ring. But even back in the 80s when WrestleMania first started, it was still the electrifying atmosphere of WrestleMania was always in crowd reaction. When Hulk Hogan slammed Andre the Giant, if there weren't 93,000 people in a stadium watching that happen and absolutely going bonkers when it did, it would have just been a really, really large man flopping over another really, really, really large man, and a lot of echoing slapping noises. I mean, it really think of any WrestleMania moment that stands out to you, especially from when you were a kid, or even if it's something more recent that really got you. And when you take the people out of it, it's silly. It's silly. Ted DiBiase, the Macho Man pinning Ted DiBiase to win the WWF Championship, and the place, Atlantic City, it was the Trump Plaza. They blew up, man. If he does that in an empty Trump Plaza, what the hell is that? I don't know, man. All of the electricity is just gone. There's no way to generate it. There's no way to generate the buzz and everybody talks about the WrestleMania moment.
Mm-hmm.
It's one of those tropes that we hear about with this all the time. What's going to be the WrestleMania moment? The Hulk slams Andre moment. I don't see one being able to exist in this kind of environment.
Let's move forward. Let's give Vince and company the benefit of the doubt here. This thing is happening. WrestleMania is happening. They've made the decision to put it on 2 nights. So let's separate out the should it happen at all from the idea of WrestleMania being on 2 nights. What do you think about that?
I think WrestleMania being on 2 nights is a fantastic idea. I mean, we haven't talked about it too much, and our audience is relatively new to us, but I've always been a critic of more modern wrestling. I think Vince McMahon has done everything in his power to change and morph wrestling from wrestling into some sort of bizarre sort of sci-fi movie, or I really don't even know how to describe it, but putting it over 2 nights it just seems so logical to me because of this, what I think about modern wrestling. There's just so much you have to sift through. Sitting through a 6-hour WrestleMania, if you're being generous, that's an hour of good content.
Mm-hmm.
And quite frankly, sitting there just waiting for the main event and then you got to get through this match, and then there's a battle royal, and then you're like, oh God, and it just drags on and on and on and on. If you make it 2 SmackDown length shows, I think it's much more manageable.
So then, if you do that, is it feasible to have it in the same arena 2 nights? Do you scale down 1 night? And if you were to do it here in the New York metropolitan area, maybe one night is at the Garden or the Barclays Center or whatever they call the one here in Jersey now. Maybe the Izod Center. There you go. Maybe night one is at one of those, and night two is the big blow off at Giant Stadium or MetLife Stadium or something like that.
Yeah, I mean, you certainly could play with that. Sort of like Sunday is the main event day. So you sort of have like the B card on Saturday and the A card on Sunday. Or you could split it right down the middle and make both days equally important. I tend to lean towards that one in the current climate because you have the Universal Champion and you have the WWE Champion and you have the SmackDown Ladies Champion, Women's Champion, and the Raw Women's Champion. So clearly divided along those lines. You don't want any one championship to mean more than the other. So I tend to lean towards making it equal both nights, but you certainly could experiment with that. But the whole thing with WrestleMania is that WrestleMania is now, it's like the Super Bowl in that it's a week of events, and it's not just the actual event. Independent promotions from all over the country flock to wherever WrestleMania is being held, and they get to all the VFW halls and all of the bars and all of the small event centers, and they hold shows because all the people that are in town for WrestleMania go to see these independent shows before going to WrestleMania. And then you got the Hall of Fame ceremony, and you got it's so having it over several nights like it's a convention just makes a lot of sense to me. I just wish they would start it in a year when people could actually attend it.
Well, which brings us, I think, to the end of this episode. Next episode, we're going to just go through the WrestleMania card. Not too much talk on the morality of the event. We'll just go through it. But it's time for cheers and pouring one out. I'm going to give cheers this round to casual wrestling fans. People that might even be new to it. Look, WWE is the only show in town this weekend. No one's going anywhere. They're going to win out, and I bet you casual wrestling fans that haven't watched in a while, maybe some kids that haven't gotten into it yet, there's nothing else on, so I think they're going to do a better buy rate than they have previously. At least they better, since they're not going up against anything. And I think casual wrestling fans are going to find something new to cheer for this weekend. So that's my cheers. You got a cheers in this mess?
You know what? I'm pouring one out on Vince McMahon, or near Vince McMahon, or in the general vicinity of Vince McMahon, because this is so ego-driven, and it's so obvious for anybody who knows the lore of Vince McMahon, and there's just so many better ways I think he could have handled this. Like, primarily, I think what you do, you cancel SummerSlam and could have moved WrestleMania into the summer, but it's
Yes.
just too stubborn.
Yep.
Just too stubborn and too used to winning, and too used to getting his way. And he's doing something that I feel is going to be very, very silly. So I'm pouring one out right on his head, or maybe I'll shoot him with the beer hose like Steve Austin did back in 1998. But yeah, I'm pouring one out. That's what I'm doing.
All right, I've got one to pour out too, and mine's a sad one. I'm pouring one out for the hardcore wrestling fans. I'm pouring one out for the guys that would have been going down to Tampa to catch this all live, to go to all the conventions. Pouring one out for all the indie wrestlers that would have had their shows all week actually attended by these rabid wrestling fans. So yep, that's my sympathetic pour out. So
yeah, I'm more rage filled.
All right, well, until next time, he's Tony,
and he's the law.
We'll see you soon.